Welcome back to News Talk here on News Channel 8. Coming up for you later in the hour, why the FBI no longer needs Apple's help gaining access to a mass murderer's iPhone. Right now, though, let's get back to our conversation with, and your phone calls for, Montgomery County Executive Ike Leggett. Rosemary, stand by. We'll be going to the phones in just a moment. We'll take your call first. So, Rosemary, please remain on the line, mute the television. You'll be able to talk with Executive Leggett in a moment. Phone lines open for others who wish to join the conversation. Do join in if you can, if you have a question, at 703-387-1020. Wanted to get your opinion, Mr. Leggett, on what happened recently with Metro, when the general manager assessed what he perceived to be significant risk to the public and did something not only that had never been done in Metro history, where he said, we're shutting down. We're going to shut down the rail for a full day. We're going to have nearly a 30-hour window. This will buy us about 30 hours to get in and look at the things, the cabling that we think poses a real risk to the public. We'll come back on Thursday morning. Not only has that never been done in Metro's 40-year history, reporters that I talk to who cover this more closely than I do say they can't find an example in any transit system anywhere where this has happened. What were your thoughts about that?
Well, first of all, congratulate the new general manager for recognizing that public safety is a real concern and that he is, in fact, taking it quite seriously. We had some questions as it relates to the timing. I wondered whether or not it could have been delayed for a couple of days until you got to a weekend to, in fact, close the entire system down. But that's a judgment, that's a decision that he's made, and given the information, I'm not going to second-guess that decision. I would note that it certainly had some level of disruption, and obviously that was something that you could not plan for in advance because we had such short notice about it. But when you put public safety out there so strongly, knowing all the repercussions that you're going to have as a result of that, it must be quite serious, and I'm going to weigh in the favor of the general manager in making that decision.
How intense did you think the disruption was on a 0 to 10 scale, or any way you would want to grade it? Some people thought it wasn't as bad as you would have thought, given how little timing, how little advance notice people had, and just the general sense of no Metro for a day, given how dependent we are and how bad our roads are on a good day. How did you assess it?
I would say it was probably 6 or 7 out of a 10. It could have been much worse, but I think a lot of people heeded the advice of staying home. A lot of people worked from home, and as a result of that, in the timing, we were able to at least work around that. But have you gone for another day, have you gone for a little bit more time related to this, it would have had somewhere close to that 10 on a 10 scale, in my opinion.
Do you worry that this could be something that happens every now and again? Because the region handled it with less than catastrophic disruption. So do you worry that it sets a precedent that could almost work against the convenience aspect? Not second-guessing for a moment safety,
well,
but just...
It is possible to happen again. Let's not forget that. And they did find some very serious concerns and problems that they had to address as a result of the inspection. It may happen again. I would hope that if it happens again, that it may happen over a weekend so that we can balance that a little bit better.
To the phones, line 1 first. Hello, Rosemary. You're on with the executive. Thank you for watching, and jump right in with your thought, please.
Yes, hello, Mr. Leggett. This is Rosemary from Goshen, and I wanted to check with you. I know your interest in transit, and I understand we do need transit, but I think we need a mix of a road, the famous M83 Mid-County Corridor, and I just wondered, do you ever see us getting that road built, and do you not think it's detrimental to the economic growth and stability of our group? Not to mention, what are we going to do with the 45,000 people coming to the Clarksburg area?
Well, Rosemary, we have to balance the need for additional transit and roads, as you just described, also with the environmental impact and the disruption that this road will cause. As you know, this road has not received the kind of backing from the county council. From some of the analysis that we've had in the past, it will cause serious environmental harm, and I don't want to proceed down a road that I know would not be productive unless all of those questions have been answered to my satisfaction. Thus far, they have not been, and as far as I'm concerned, it's not one that I would consider seriously as a means of avoiding traffic and the challenge that we face throughout that corridor.
Thanks, Rosemary. To line 2 and Norman in Landover. You're on the air. Thank you, Norman, for watching and for calling in. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, how you doing? Norman from Landover. How you doing, gentlemen?
Hi, caller. We're great. Thank you.
All right. What I wanted to ask is, my understanding is Maryland made deals with every casino to help with educational costs. But I keep hearing Maryland delegates talk about raising property tax. And Maryland taxes are almost higher than most states around. So what I want to know is, was Maryland dealt a bad hand by the casinos?
Thank you.
Well, the monies from the casinos are, in fact, going toward education. And they've had a pretty good result over the last couple of years as a result of the decision to have the casinos in the state of Maryland. Clearly, you still need more money because the system is growing. In Montgomery County, for example, we're growing about 2,000 plus students per year. That's a fairly high number. And when you consider all the other impacts related to this system, you need additional revenue. And casinos, but for that money, the tax would probably be much higher, in my opinion.
Can you talk about the proposal to run a bus rapid transit line in the Route 29 corridor?
Well, one of the things that we are looking at in transit is to include a bus rapid transit system. I've decided to go step by step rather than to do a comprehensive overall system at once, but to do it in piecemeal, looking at individual corridors. There are several corridors that we're looking at, Route 29, which hopefully we would extend all the way from Howard County to Columbia, all the way to Silver Spring. Is one that we think that we can deliver in a cost-effective manner within 4 years. Is one that enhances the traffic that is already there in terms of easing that burden. And it also anticipates much-needed growth and development that is likely to occur around the White Oak area. It's a system that I think is well overdue, and I think we can deliver fairly quickly.
As I understand bus rapid transit, it's a bus that's that is not in the same traffic-choked lanes of highway that we as commuters, that the cars and trucks and buses are in, right? It's got to have its own, that's the attractiveness
That's
of it,
the attractiveness.
You're zooming right on past.
In this case, in the Route 29 corridor, we can use the shoulders as well as the right-of-way that already exists in that area rather than to necessarily create additional lane and taking property. This is one of the reasons why we think we can deliver this much faster than in some other areas where you literally may have to buy additional property in order to get a dedicated right-of-way.
Presumably, the farther south you get, the more likely the buses are to merge into regular traffic?
That's right. Once you get inside the Beltway, it probably would merge into regular traffic, but outside the Beltway, our belief is that you can have it on the existing shoulders of the road and simply allow the traffic to flow in that way.
A year, perhaps 2 years ago, you talked about you tried to get a conversation going on a big system of
transit authority.
That would really transform what the county would look like 50 years from now. Is this part of that, and is the broader conversation likely to take place like this example you've just cited in a sort of as you go?
Yeah, it will be as you go, because I've never given up totally that we do not need the overall system. We simply do not have to build it all at once. We will build it piecemeal, and we will do it corridor by corridor. But at some point in time, once you start to add multiple corridors, you can't do it within the current capital budget that we have or the state provides in terms of additional revenue. You would have to have some additional resources, and you may then go back to say, well, is a transit authority necessary now to enhance this system that we've already started?
Do you think the legislature is likely to sign off to approve this year a robust ignition interlock for people who've had a single DUI?
I hope so, and I think that Noah's Law is what you're referring to, named after Officer Noah Leota, who died in the result of a traffic incident in Montgomery County. When you look at the state of Maryland and look at our laws as it relates to driving while intoxicated and all of the laws associated with it, we are really below many other states around this region, around the entire United States. And having this ignition, I think, law, Noah's Law, at the way and the manner in which it was originally suggested, to me is ideal. And I hope that the General Assembly passes it, but not a watered-down version of it, but passes it consistent with what we think is appropriate.
The technology has been around a while, and advocates have been calling for something like this for a while. Did it take the death of a police officer? Did it take the father of a dead police officer to call out a prominent member of the General Assembly by name at a press conference to overcome what critics say was a system where the defense attorneys, who some say dominate the General Assembly, were able to block a worthwhile and a potentially life-saving proposal for far too long?
Unfortunately, you're probably right about that, and unfortunately this has happened far too long, and Noah's father made a very strong case. The words were, Father, looking at his son who died in my opinion, that could have been avoided, the death could have been avoided, has brought us to this point that we're now, in my opinion, ready to change this law. And I hope that we simply change it consistent with the way it was introduced. Delegate Ben Crane in Montgomery County has been fighting this for years. It has taken him a long time to get to this point, but he will tell you that this death and the father's plea was something that he thinks helped to push this across the line.
Ike Leggett is in his third term as Montgomery County Executive. Good to have you here today. Thanks for coming in. We'll talk with you after the General Assembly wraps up and as you all get deeper into budget season in Rockville. Thanks very much for your time. Good to see you as always. Up next for you, an update on the hour's top stories, the midweek forecast as well, and then why Bernie Sanders is continuing to pound rival Hillary Clinton.